Uh, Welcome. It's good to see you. So tonight, we're going to do a little bit of contemplation of the body, as particular emphasis on the skeleton. And this appears in a number of suttas in several different forms, but of course, it's mindfulness of the body. So one um, aspect of this is the four elements. So the hardness of the body, the softness of the body, this is earth element. So the skeleton can be an object of focus when you're doing mindfulness of the elements. You can choose the earth or water or air or fire. Probably earth and water and wind rather than choosing fire as a main object is safest. But I've heard of people spontaneously combusting with the fire contemplation, so we don't want to encourage that. But the stability of the body or the breath in as wind is can be a single focus once you've been working with the elements for a while. It appears as a contemplation of in the 31 parts of the body, and it is the bones, and it can also be a focus. You can go through the parts and then settle on a single organ or aspect of the body. So the bones are very useful for that. And then, of course, with the corpse contemplation, contemplating our impermanence and the certainty of this body, being impermanent, and so there's the contemplation of the corpse into decay. So that's you can use this contemplation of the skeleton externally. So with the asubha or the 31 parts of the body, you consider the internal, your own bones. The same with the element contemplation. You consider your own bones to start with internally. And then when externally, there's no, to see a skeleton externally, it's nothing other than the remains of another human being. So this contemplation of it externally is either your own bones or someone else's bones, but that this is our nature, the nature of the body as impermanent, and returning to the earth. We'll return to the earth. So with the earth, the hardness of the bones, you can sense the bones in the body. You can feel your own knuckles. There's bony prominences that you can feel, the knees, and then the teeth are attached to the skull. So the hardness of the teeth and the hardness of the skull. And I'll get into detail with the guided meditation, but this is kind of pointing you in the direction of how to work with the skeleton and just becoming at more and more at ease with just the nature of the body. So the nature of the body internally is not so beautiful. And this is why it's often called asubha when you're contemplating internally uh, below the skin. Uh, well, we kind of dress up and try to make beautiful until we get to a certain point and it's beyond the possibility. Um, this you know, they say beauty is skin deep. So then below the skin, there's flesh, there's muscle, and then below that is a bone. So the hardness we contemplate, we can experience directly the hardness of our own skeleton. Anywhere there's a bony prominences that we can feel. And then if we're going to be contemplating the entire skeleton, then we need to use a little bit of imagination. So piecing together that direct experience and a little bit of visualization. I have here a shell, and this is the remains of a once living being. It's quite beautiful. So this is bone, actually. And we can be at peace at thinking of the hardness of our own bones and then the hardness of things in our environment. But this is just a reminder of uh, both internally and externally made of earth element. The clam somehow ingested either in the seawater or on the ocean floor enough calcium to create its own shell. I have another one here, small shell. You might see it's already showing signs of decay. This one's in a little bit more intact shape. So you can think both internally and externally, hardness, and it may help even to think of shells or rock. This is hardness, same as our bodies internally, the skeleton. There's a sutta in the connected discourses that talks about the perception of the skeleton. Atika sanya, this is the perception of the skeleton. It says it's of great fruit. Mendicants, when the perception of a skeleton is developed and cultivated, it's very fruitful and beneficial. Satika sanya bhikkhave bhavita bahulikita mahapala oti maha nisamsa. And how so? It's when a mendicant or anyone develops the perception of a skeleton together with the awakening factors of mindfulness, sati, investigation of principles, dhammavichaya, energy, which is virya, rapture, piti, tranquility, that's passaddhi, immersion, samadhi, and equanimity, which rely on seclusion, fading away, and cessation, and ripen as letting go. So there's a whole succession in the Samyutta Nikaya, starting with the skeleton, and it speaks about the corpse in decay. But then it shifts to the Brahma Viharas after that. So there's a whole repetition of this contemplation with the awakening factors. So we're bringing mindfulness to the body, sati, to the body, and then we investigate deeply. We might investigate the skeleton, the bones deeply, both internally and externally, that the nature of this body. Investigated, and then energy arises from this investigation. Then piti, rapture, and then it comes to tranquility. And it is said that the contemplation of the skeleton can also lead one to immersion or samadhi. So you're just becoming at peace with the nature of things. It's all according to reality. We're not in conflict with it. So that leads to, or it's relying on the equanimity that arises as well as the other bojangas rely on seclusion, fading away, cessation, and ripen as letting go. Atika sanya sahagatam upeka sambojangam bhavite viveka nisitam viraga nisitam niroda nisitam osaga harinamim. So the last one is equanimity. So we're working with this. Well, the mind will become equanimous. And then it ends with, that's how the perception of a skeleton, when developed and cultivated, is very fruitful and beneficial. And the next sutta is just very brief because it's ellipsed. When the perception of a skeleton is developed and cultivated, you can expect one of two results: enlightenment in this very life, or if there's something left over, non-return. And the next ellipsed sutta is, Mendicants, when the perception of a skeleton is developed and cultivated, it leads to great sanctuary from the yoke. That's yoga kemaya samvatati. So this is freedom from the fetters, from being fettered, from being bound to samsara. Mendicants, when the perception of a skeleton is developed and cultivated, it leads to dwelling in great ease. And how is that so? It's when a mendicant develops the perception of a skeleton together with the awakening factors of mindfulness, investigation of principles, energy, rapture, tranquility, immersion, and equanimity, which rely on seclusion, fading away, cessation, and ripening as letting go. So I took a extract from another sutta, and it talks about metta bhavana. And the reason why I'm bringing this in is if you're going to do this kind of contemplation of the bones and contemplating impermanence and contemplating the unbeautiful aspect of the body, to balance it with the metta bhavana is really important. And this is it also in the Bojjhanga Samyutta, which I was just reading from. And it's Metta Sahagata Sutta. And the Buddha is talking to the monks about what distinguishes this teaching, his teaching, from the other ascetics' teaching. And he says it's the combination of the immeasurables, the boundless qualities, the Brahma Viharas, with the Bojjhangas, the enlightenment factors. And then he gets to the rhetorical question is, how is the heart's release by love developed? And that's Metta Cheta Vimutti. It's when a mendicant develops the heart's release by love together with the awakening factors of mindfulness, investigation of principles, energy, rapture, tranquility, immersion, and equanimity, which rely on seclusion, fading away, and cessation, and ripen as letting go. So it's the same, very same formula as with the skeleton and the other aspects of the corpse in decay. So then, once we've developed metta to its fullness, it says, if a mendicant wishes, may I meditate perceiving the repulsive in the unrepulsive. That's what they do. If they wish, may I meditate perceiving the unrepulsive in the repulsive. That's what they do. May I meditate perceiving the repulsive in the unrepulsive and the repulsive. That's what they do. If they meditate perceiving the unrepulsive in the repulsive and the unrepulsive, that's what they do. So this is it's not Asubha, it's Akankati Apatikule and Patikule. So this can be considered the attractive and unattractive aspects, but seeing both. And then if they meditate, staying equanimous, mindful, and aware, rejecting both the repulsive and the unrepulsive, that's what they do. And the practice of metta bhavana culminates in the beautiful, the sign of the beautiful. So these balance each other out so that we're not disturbed. The mind is not disturbed. What's perceived as repulsive or unattractive, or it's not disturbed by what's attractive. The mind eventually becomes equanimous. And this is also with the Bojjhangas, the awakening factors. The mind is moving towards equanimity, towards upekkha. So this contemplation of the bones, our own bones, and the bones externally should not be a cause of distress or aversion, but leading to peacefulness of the mind. So I'm going to start a guided meditation focusing on the bones. our own skeleton, living skeleton for now, this within us. So we can consider it as earth element, the hardness of the body. And as we're sitting, we can feel the weight of the body pressing against what's supporting us. This is also earth, the heaviness of the body. And then as we're feeling that, whatever the bony prominences you might feel pressing against what's supporting us. If your hands are on your knees, you might feel your kneecap also. You can feel the heel either pressed against the floor, inside the shoe, and against the floor if you have shoes, or the heel maybe pressed against a shin or a thigh, depending on how you're sitting, if you're sitting cross-legged. And just getting a sense of that hardness as much as you can, tracing inside the foot, the bones and the feet. Just giving a kind attention to the bones as you move upwards, up the leg to the knee, as deep as you can into the thigh, feeling the femur. You might feel the base of the pelvis pressed against the cushion or your chair. Using your imagination as much as possible, or the sense of the bones themselves as much as possible. Might feel the outer ridges of the hips. The base of the spine. Sacrum. And then just going up the spine gradually, feeling the low back. There's interest and investigation combined with mindfulness, just surveying this body internally. You feel the shoulder blades. And the collarbone attached to the breastbone and the ribs. Just explore on your own the area of the chest internally as much as you can. And back up again to the shoulders. You can go down the arms one at a time if you wish. And the elbow. And the joints of the fingers, you can really experience the hardness of the bone. And then back upwards again to the bones in the neck, the cervical vertebrae. Supporting the skull, sensing the weight of the skull, the shape of the skull. And the teeth attached to the skull and the jaw. Really sensing the hardness. Just going deeper, just close to the, just very close to the scalp, just very short distance below the scalp. It's the surface of the skull, and going deep, really sensing the shape of the head, the shape of the skull below the scalp. And underneath all the muscles in the face. Just bringing up a sense of interest. And also caring. Careful attention. And you can continue downward down the bones in the neck, the vertebrae in the neck. And just on your own, you can continue to explore with the shoulders and arms and ribs, just at your own pace, downwards again. With a sense of caring and a sense of interest. And if any time you lose your object of meditation, you can return to the sense of the hardness of the teeth, or perhaps if your hands are on your legs, you can feel the kneecap, the bones in the hand, this hardness, this earth element, internal earth element. And we can bring up a sense of joy, the piti, after the investigation and the energy is aroused somewhat. Bringing kindness and care and appreciation to the bones in our body, deep within our body. Bringing that metta internally to the bones. Bringing up a sense of joy. Just deep inside. So as the period is about to end, it's good to reflect back. How was that? What just happened? Was I able to stay with my object of meditation? What did I learn? And how is my mind now? Am I more peaceful, at ease? So we can end the period of meditation with a dedication of merit for all beings. May all beings be happy. May all beings be well. May all beings know the true peace of Nibbana. So then we can end with homage to the Triple Gem. If you have a Buddha image in your home, you can bow in that direction, or you can bow towards the Buddha on the screen here. Feeling the bones as you're moving into position. Araham Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddham Bhagavantam Abhivademi Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammam Namasami Supatipanno Bhagavato Sawaka Sangho Sangham Namami. Well, have a good night. Thank you for joining.